The Cyclopean Cave, a deeper allegory in Homer's Odyssey. Homer's Odyssey is often read as an epic tale of survival and adventure, but its enduring power lies in its deeper layers of spiritual and allegorical meaning. One of the most compelling episodes in this epic, Odysseus' encounter with Polyphemus the Cyclops, transforms under scrutiny into a profound narrative of the soul's trials, entrapments, and ultimate quest for liberation. Odysseus and his men, while searching for food during their journey home from Troy, land on an island that seems abundant and peaceful. Exploring the island, they come across a large cave stocked with provisions, cheese, milk, and livestock. Hoping to take some food and possibly meet the inhabitant, they decide to wait. However, as night falls, the cave's owner, Polyphemus, a monstrous one-eyed Cyclops, returns. Polyphemus rolls an enormous stone to seal the cave's entrance, trapping Odysseus and his men inside. When he notices the intruders, he becomes enraged. Ignoring Odysseus' plea for hospitality under the protection of the gods, Polyphemus grabs two of the men, smashes them against the ground, and devours them. The next morning, he eats two more before leaving the cave, again sealing it shut with a massive stone. Odysseus, realizing brute force cannot defeat the Cyclops, devises a clever plan. He offers Polyphemus strong wine, which the Cyclops greedily drinks. When Polyphemus asks for his name, Odysseus cunningly replies that he is nobody. The Cyclops, drunk and drowsy, falls into a deep sleep. Seizing the opportunity, Odysseus and his men heat a large wooden stake in the fire and drive it into Polyphemus' single eye, blinding him. The Cyclops wakes, roaring in agony, and calls for help from the other Cyclopes. But when they arrive and ask who is attacking him, Polyphemus replies, "Nobody is hurting me," leading them to believe he is fine and leaving him unaided. To escape, Odysseus and his men tie themselves to the undersides of Polyphemus' sheep. The next morning, as the blinded Cyclops lets his flock out to graze, he feels only their backs, unknowingly allowing the hidden men to pass. Once outside and safely aboard their ship, Odysseus, overcome by pride, reveals his true identity to Polyphemus. Enraged, Polyphemus hurls massive rocks toward the ship and calls upon his father, Poseidon, to curse Odysseus. He prays that Odysseus will face endless hardships on his journey, lose his crew, and struggle to return home, if ever. This act of hubris marks a turning point in Odysseus' journey, as Poseidon's wrath brings him further trials and delays on his long voyage back to Ithaca. The tale reflects themes of cunning over strength, the perils of pride, and the enduring struggle between human resourcefulness and divine will. The dark, enclosed Cyclopean cave represents the earthly domain where souls are imprisoned in physical forms. Much like the material world, the cave confines and isolates, separating the soul from its divine origins. This imprisonment symbolizes gamma nu omicron iota alpha in Greek, ignorance, as described by Plato, a state where the soul forgets its true, eternal nature. Polyphemus, with his singular eye, becomes an embodiment of the forces that dominate the soul: ignorance, materialism, and a limited perception restricted to the physical realm. As the shepherd of sheep and goats, he symbolizes the guardian of souls bound in the cycle of reincarnation, tending to them and ensuring they remain in the cave of material existence. In this spiritual allegory, Polyphemus' role parallels mythological figures such as Charon, who ferries souls to the underworld, or Yama, the Hindu god of death who presides over reincarnation. Unlike his depiction as a brutish monster, Polyphemus emerges as a symbolic figure of immense importance, a custodian who ensures that souls remain bound to their earthly limitations. His single eye reflects his inability to see higher spiritual truths, focusing instead on the material world. Many mystics and philosophers, through de-symbolizing the Odyssey, interpret the Cyclopean cave as a profound metaphor for the realm of material existence. In this reading, the cave embodies the physical world where human souls are trapped within the cyclical patterns of reincarnation. The epic tale, then, is not merely an account of Odysseus' physical escape, but transforms into a hidden allegory, portraying the soul's journey through trials and entrapments in its ultimate quest for liberation. This allegorical interpretation suggests that Odysseus represents the human soul, reframing his struggle as the archetypal battle of the soul to liberate itself from ignorance, attachment, and the limitations of material existence. The cave, dark and confining, symbolizes the forgetfulness, or avidya, that veils the soul's divine origin, while Polyphemus, the Cyclops, becomes a representation of the forces that enforce this bondage: ignorance, materialism, and the domination of physical perception over spiritual insight. The name Polyphemus derives from the Greek words poly, pi omicron lambda, meaning many, and phemus, phi mu eta, meaning speech or fame. When de-symbolized, Polyphemus can be interpreted as representing many voices or many utterances, which connects deeply to the themes of material existence and ignorance in the allegory. In the context of the Cyclopean cave as a metaphor for the material world, Polyphemus embodies the cacophony of the material realm, the multitude of distractions, desires, and illusions that overwhelm and bind the soul. His many voices symbolize the noise of worldly existence, where countless influences, social norms, consumer culture, and fleeting ambitions drown out the soul's inner call to transcendence. Polyphemus, with his many voices and role as a shepherd, embodies the complex dynamics of material existence. He is both the obstacle and the key to the soul's journey. To escape the cycle of reincarnation, the soul must confront and overcome the distractions and limitations he represents, silencing the many voices to hear the singular, divine call of liberation. The stick that Odysseus finds in the depths of the cave, later used to blind Polyphemus, can be de-symbolized as a representation of hidden potential or unrealized power that lies within the confines of the material world. Though it appears as a simple, mundane object, a tree trunk meant to support the cave or serve as a tool, it holds the capacity to be transformed into a weapon of enlightenment and liberation. In the depths of the Cyclopean cave, a space symbolic of ignorance and material entrapment, the stick becomes a reminder that even within the confines of the material world, tools for spiritual growth and escape exist, though they may initially go unnoticed. Odysseus, embodying the striving soul, recognizes its potential and, through his ingenuity, shapes it into a weapon of transformation. The act of preparing the stick, sharpening it, heating it in the fire, and ultimately driving it into Polyphemus' eye, symbolizes the soul's ability to take raw, earthly materials, knowledge, experience, or insight, and refine them into something capable of overcoming ignorance. The fire represents purification and enlightenment, enhancing the stick's power as a tool for piercing the Cyclops' limited vision and freeing the soul from its constraints. In modern terms, the stick could symbolize untapped resources, ideas, or skills within ourselves or our environment that, when recognized and developed, enable us to overcome the obstacles that blind or trap us. It is a reminder that even within the most challenging circumstances, the tools for liberation can be found, waiting for the soul's wisdom to transform them into instruments of freedom. The blinding of Polyphemus marks a pivotal moment of enlightenment, as the soul overcomes the narrow, materialistic vision that binds it. Odysseus' cleverness reflects the wisdom and spiritual insight needed to navigate the complexities of existence, while his eventual escape underscores the soul's potential to transcend these confines and embark on the path toward ultimate liberation. When Polyphemus calls out, his fellow Cyclopes dismiss his cries because Odysseus has identified himself as nobody. This indifference symbolizes how ignorance, the dominant force of the material world, is blind to spiritual struggles. The Cyclopes, like Polyphemus, are limited by their material vision and cannot comprehend the higher dimensions of the soul's journey. This reflects a critical reality. The collective material consciousness, represented by the Cyclopes, is often apathetic to or dismissive of spiritual awakening. The world, entrenched in ignorance, may not only resist but fail to even notice the soul's efforts to break free. In this desymbolized reading, Homer's tale becomes a timeless map of spiritual evolution, tracing the journey of the soul as it confronts and overcomes the challenges of the material world on its ascent toward divine realization. This allegorical interpretation reframes Odysseus' struggle as the archetypal battle of the soul to free itself from ignorance, attachment, and the limitations of material existence. The cave, dark and confining, symbolizes the forgetfulness, or avidya, that veils the soul's divine origin, while Polyphemus, the Cyclops, becomes a representation of the forces that enforce this bondage. Ignorance, materialism, and the domination of physical perception over spiritual insight. In today's reality, the Cyclopean cave can be reimagined as the corporate maze, a metaphorical landscape representing the material world and its binding forces of consumerism, ambition, and routine. Human souls, represented as modern workers, navigate this maze in search of success and fulfillment, but often find themselves trapped in cycles of labor, consumption, and debt. The corporate Cyclops, a towering, single-eyed entity, represents the forces of materialism and limited vision that dominate the modern world. Its single eye symbolizes the narrow focus on profit, productivity, and surface-level success, ignoring deeper spiritual truths or higher aspirations. Like Polyphemus, the corporate Cyclops controls its flock, the employees who represent souls caught in the cycle of material existence. With its gaze fixed solely on the tangible, the bottom line, metrics, and outputs, the corporate Cyclops is blind to the well-being of the soul. It shepherds individuals into a life of conformity and routine, ensuring they remain tethered to the material realm. The office space, with its cubicles, fluorescent lights, and repetitive tasks, becomes a modern equivalent of the Cyclopean cave, a confined space where individuals are disconnected from their higher purpose. Within this cave, the workers forget their true potential, consumed by deadlines, paychecks, and societal expectations. The cycle of waking up, commuting, working, and repeating symbolizes the reincarnation of daily life, where the soul is trapped in a loop of material striving without spiritual growth. The workers can be divided into two symbolic groups, the sheep and goats. The sheep, these are individuals who passively follow the system, content with the comforts of routine and material security. They avoid questioning the deeper purpose of their existence, focusing instead on meeting deadlines, earning promotions, and securing retirement plans. The goats, These represent independent thinkers who question the system, seeking meaning beyond the material. They explore new paths, challenge conventions, and strive for self-realization. The goats are the ones with the potential to escape the corporate maze and ascend to a higher state of awareness. Odysseus' escape from the Cyclopean cave parallels the modern individual's journey to liberation. In today's context, this escape involves questioning the system, realizing that success and happiness cannot be defined solely by societal expectations or corporate metrics, finding a higher purpose, seeking meaning in relationships, creativity, spirituality, or service to others, rather than material accumulation, navigating obstacles. Like Odysseus clinging to the sheep, the modern individual must use existing systems, education, careers, or technology to maneuver out of the maze without being consumed by it. Odysseus' escape from the Cyclopean cave parallels the modern individual's journey to liberation. In today's context, this escape involves questioning the system, realizing that success and happiness cannot be defined solely by societal expectations or corporate metrics, finding a higher purpose, seeking meaning in relationships, creativity, spirituality, or service to others, rather than material accumulation, navigating obstacles. Like Odysseus clinging to the sheep, the modern individual must use existing systems, education, careers, or technology to maneuver out of the maze without being consumed by it. As Odysseus sails away from the Cyclops island, Polyphemus hurls massive rocks into the sea. In today's world, these rocks represent the lingering forces of materialism and societal pressure that try to pull individuals back into the corporate maze. Fear of failure, financial insecurity, and societal judgment are the obstacles the soul must overcome to stay on its path to freedom. The first rock, hurled by Polyphemus, narrowly missing the ship's front, can be de-symbolized as the force of doubt and rational hesitation that confronts the soul on its journey toward liberation. The front of the ship, often seen as its guiding edge or the logical mind steering toward a goal, represents the rational aspect of the human spirit. As the rock falls, it symbolizes the barrage of doubts, questions, and fears that arise when the soul begins to move away from the comfort and familiarity of the material world. These doubts challenge the soul's resolve, whispering that the journey may be foolish, dangerous, or impossible. In essence, this rock represents the intellectual resistance to change and spiritual ascent. It embodies the logical mind's attachment to the tangible and known, its tendency to question the value of seeking an abstract, unseen higher purpose. The near miss suggests that while these doubts are powerful, they can be overcome if the soul remains steadfast, trusting in its deeper intuition and purpose. Odysseus' ability to avoid the rock signifies the soul's resilience and capacity to navigate past the limitations of the rational mind, steering forward despite the material world's attempts to obstruct its path to enlightenment. The second rock, which struck the back of the ship and nearly destroyed the steering mechanism, can be de-symbolized as the memories and attachments of the soul to the material pleasures and passions of its current life. These are the lingering desires, cravings, and emotional ties that attempt to pull the soul back into the cycle of material existence. The ship's steering mechanism symbolizes the soul's willpower and direction, its ability to navigate the tumultuous journey away from the familiar comforts of the material world. The rock represents the powerful pull of nostalgia, the taste of indulgent food, the intoxication of passion, the allure of worldly achievements, and the warmth of fleeting comforts. These memories strike at the core of the soul's resolve, tempting it to turn back to what it knows, rather than pushing forward into the unknown realm of spiritual growth. Odysseus' ability to keep the ship on course despite the damage shows the soul's resilience. It illustrates the soul's power to withstand the pull of attachment, using wisdom and determination to steer toward liberation. The act of not turning back reflects a decisive moment of transcendence, where the soul acknowledges the past but refuses to let it dictate its future. This moment symbolizes the soul's ultimate commitment to its higher purpose, leaving behind the cycle of reincarnation and the pleasures of the material world for the boundless freedom of spiritual enlightenment. The ship that carries Odysseus away symbolizes the tools and resources that support the journey to higher awareness. In modern terms, this might be education, mindfulness practices, creative expression, or strong community connections. These vehicles enable individuals to navigate away from material entrapments and towards self-realization. Odysseus' departure from Polyphemus Island represents the soul's victory over material limitations. The ship carrying him and his comrades becomes a metaphor for the higher self, guiding the soul away from ignorance and towards spiritual realization. Polyphemus, now blinded and enraged, hurls massive stones into the sea, representing the lingering forces of material existence that attempt to pull the soul back into bondage. The allegory of the corporate maze reflects today's reality, where many individuals find themselves trapped in a cycle of material striving, unaware of their higher potential. Like Odysseus in the Cyclopean cave, the modern soul must confront the forces that bind it, using wisdom and creativity to break free. Ultimately, the journey is not just about escaping the maze, but about discovering a deeper purpose, a life guided by meaning, connection, and the pursuit of spiritual liberation in a world that often values the material over the transcendent. Even after escaping Polyphemus, Odysseus' trials are far from over. Each challenge he faces reflects a stage in the soul's evolution. The Siren's Song, a symbol of seductive illusions and desires that distract the soul from its higher purpose. Scylla and Charybdis represent the delicate balance the soul must maintain to navigate between extremes of temptation and fear. Ithaca, the ultimate destination, symbolizing the soul's return to its divine source and the attainment of unity and bliss. Penelope, Odysseus' loyal wife, represents the eternal truth patiently waiting for the soul's return. Her weaving and unweaving of the loom symbolize the cycles of creation and dissolution, reflecting the soul's enduring journey toward enlightenment.